Hello and welcome to another Anthem Basics. I'm Dante, and today we're looking at the thick boy of Anthem, the Colossus, the tank of Anthem, both in the metaphorical and literal sense. They'll be your guardian protector, as well as your weapon you bring to bear when you need a titan turned into ash. Let's break down what makes them tick, and why you might want to invest your time into one. Just as we did with the Ranger in the last episode, we're going to begin by looking at the broad strokes and theme of the Colossus, then go into its weapons and abilities, what they do, and how they will feed into the initial themes. If I've not made it obvious already, the Colossus is the biggest of all the Javelins, with its themes leaning into big armor with bigger firepower. As I said previously, these broad strokes should help you land on a Javelin that suits your playstyle, or just what Javelin will be best for a situation. Although Anthem does not have what's known as the Holy Trinity of a tank, healer and damage dealer, the Colossus is about as close to this traditional idea as you'll get in Anthem. It heavily evokes the feeling of being a tank, protecting teammates by being the biggest and loudest target. Now let's see where the firepower part of the theme stems from. The Colossus is unique in that it has its own weapon class, with heavy weapons, at the cost of access to smaller arms in the pistol and SMGs. These heavy weapons are things like grenade launchers, high damage, explosive and impactful, with options that cover area damage and single target options, which serves into the third theme of the Colossus, which is more of a side effect of the other two, but considerable enough to worth mentioning. Whereas the Ranger specializes in single target damage, the Colossus is the exact opposite, with a focus of area effect damage. As a result, most of the weapons in its heavy weapon category favor this role, along with how its abilities support its complete loadout. Which brings us nicely onto the abilities of the Colossus. Starting with the giant cannon, you'll have seen from much of the promotional material, the Ordnance Launcher. Quite a bit different to the other abilities you'll see from other Javelins. Not because a giant cannon is unique in itself, but because it has a very single-minded focus, to blow stuff up. Your options aren't single target or area of effect, for the most part. The Colossus isn't that subtle. It's there to do one thing, and the Ordnance Launcher delivers. So what kind of options does a giant cannon like this have? Well, I've mentioned before about how different elemental effects cause combos, and this ability is mostly split in either the setup or combo category. The first two, the High Explosive Mortar and the Burst Mortar, are similar in that they are there for raw explosive damage, at least until the endgame. However, they do serve slightly different purposes. The High Explosive Mortar is focused on higher damage in a slightly smaller area, about as close as a mortar can get to single target, whereas the Burst Mortar is the opposite. Rather than one large shell, it spreads multiple shells like a giant shotgun shell over a wide area, resulting in much better area of effect at a reduced damage per target, perfect for shutting down large choke points and triggering combos for an entire horde of enemies. The other three serve as the opposite role, with a focus on elemental attributes. The Firewall Mortar that ignites an area, leaving a continual effect on the ground, perfect for locking down enemies, especially at choke points while preparing a combo. The next two are lightning focused. The Lightning Coil, a conal effect that prioritizes enemies already under status effects, then the Shock Coil, another conal effect that just hits a wide area, but sets up combos for fighting. The second set of abilities you'll be getting for the Colossus follow a similar pattern, just with a slightly more accurate explosion with the Heavy Assault Launcher slot. Two of these abilities are targeted at single target, and as with the Mortar, should be great at detonating abilities, with the Heavy Cannon and Railgun. On the other side, we have 3 spray style attacks that can work in both single target and small area of effect situations, with the Flamethrower, Flat Cannon and Acid Spitter. So whether you need to bring down an Ash Titan or a horde of enemies, the Colossus has an explosion for any situation. On the other side of the Colossus, we have its inherently tanky nature, which really becomes apparent with the support gear they have available. Each Javelin comes with 2 options for the slot. For the Colossus, they have a unique ability that allows them to actually taunt enemies. This causes all enemies within a set radius to focus the Colossus. The reason this is unique is due to there being no usual threat system in play, at least in the traditional sense. This ability alone will probably make one Colossus a must-have for any mission. The second option is a Deflector Pulse, which is almost the opposite. Rather than tanking for your allies, the Colossus creates a large damage resistant aura for a set time. Now for the real big guns, the ultimate of the Colossus, who took the idea of go big or go home rather literally. Their siege cannon is effectively a nuclear level mortar that has a huge AoE, does incredible damage, and allows for several shots to be launched. This is by far the most visual of all of the ultimates, as you'll be lighting up everything in sight. As with the last ability, you may have noticed that the Colossus isn't one for finesse. As a result, they're the only Javelin that has neither an on-ground or in-the-air movement ability. Instead, they have access to a shield that can be equipped to soak damage, especially useful at ignoring certain attacks, mines, or to be combined with their support abilities to protect their team. That sums up the basics you need to know before jumping into the Colossus. Once we've covered the remaining Javelins, we'll jump into the items themselves and how to create a loadout with them. Coming up next for the Javelins will be the Storm, the elemental glass cannon of Anthem. If you've got any questions about the Colossus or any other Anthem basic videos, be sure to post them in the comment section below or message us on social media. If you enjoyed this episode of Anthem Basics, be sure to leave a like, provide your requests below, support the channel by subscribing, and using the bell to be notified of future content as it goes live. And until next time, I've been Dante, thanks for watching.